So welcome and good morning. I am so honored to be here with you today. And if you're enjoying this video replay, know that time is elastic, and so that we're still actually gathering together, and that we have created a beautiful sangha, this sort of creating circle of togetherness. So I'm very honored that we get to practice in this way today. And today we will cover the Vedantic teachings of 4 key elements for our daily life. So let's actually introduce a movement while we discuss these sort of yogic philosophies. So grabbing into a nice tall standing position and spreading the feet out wide. And take a moment here just to turn the heels in slightly so that the toes and the knees move out in the same direction. And we're going to start here by placing our hands on the heart, closing the eyes down, and noticing what is here. Maybe taking a deep breath in through the nose, holding the breath at the top if that feels comfortable for you, and letting it go out of the breath, open mouth. 2 more times. So we're looking at yoga for vitality today. So maybe even creating some sense or awareness of vitality here at the heart center. Maybe even feeling the blood pumping or the breath moving. And take one more round of breath here until you can settle into your feet. Feeling as though the feet are rooted down into your mat and the crown of the head very light. You can even bring some awareness into the shoulders. Maybe the shoulders can move away from the ears a little bit more, or even notice if you're holding tension in the jaw. See if you can let it go. And whenever you're ready, you can start to open your eyes. And we're going to invite movement with breath. So inhaling, hands here at the heart. Exhale, we're going to press our palms out, sink down into the knees. Making a big sound as we breathe out. Inhale, come back in. Exhale it out. Keep going. We're going to do about 10 rounds here. And maybe we can start to sink into the very first teaching of yoga philosophy of aspiring to grow. So you might even want to sink into this awareness or asking yourself, what can I do to support my growth? And even adding a little touch awareness, maybe there might be guidance here from the heart. Maybe it's more of a sense or a feeling than words. But maybe there might be images or symbols or something comes up. So maybe you can get really into this breath and this movement, breathing in, holding the hands here at the heart. Exhale, maybe even forcefully, pressing out what doesn't serve you. Inhaling, asking what seeds can I plant today? And exhale, pressing what doesn't serve you here out. So a few more times. What can I do to support my growth? Maybe answers might be loud, or maybe they may be quiet, or they might not be seen or heard here at all, but pressing it out into the universe helps us to our own self-realization, helps us get to our deeper core. So a few more rounds here. We're really creating boundaries and building in self-resilience. We can even start to welcome in feelings or sensings of gratitude as we place our hands on the heart, and even letting go. What do you need to release as you press those hands out? So let's actually invite a few more rounds here. Gratitude, or seeking into what do I need to support my own growth, and then pressing out what doesn't need to be here. And when we finish, we can stand here, allowing our hands to cover our hearts again, maybe even closing the eyes, and start to feel into the new energy that's created here. Since moving our bodies in this way could start to create a little sense of energy within and outside of the body. So noticing what you can feel here. When you feel ready, you can start to move the body by taking down the feet perhaps a little closer now, maybe lining up underneath the hips. Take a little gander at your toes, spread them out, wiggle them around. Maybe even wiggling fingers at this time might actually help to wake up the body. And then planting feet down, looking down, making sure that all 10 toes are moving forward, that the heels and the toes are actually lined up in a straight line. And if it's possible, maybe even lining up the hips, the knees, and the toes. The way my knees turn in, it kind of doesn't really look as linear, but it feels straight from within, and that's all that matters here in this moment. So let's start to invite movement again. Inhale, sweeping arms out to the sides. Exhale, bending knees, folding over. Maybe hands reach back behind you and sweeping up as a way to release. And then inhale, sweeping arms back up, back, breathing out. So a few more movements here. Inviting breath to be here, to be present. Just a gentle movement of the body, opening up through the back body, through the spine, and making the movements that only feel comfortable for you. So if extending the head really low makes you feel dizzy or uncomfortable, then just do the upward movement here without having to come into that deep bend. So really, we're always striving to have yoga that makes us feel comfortable. So if there's something that isn't right for you, just sink into what that is. And then move into a more comfortable position. All of our movements are not going to look alike. They're all individual people. So as we're moving in this sort of movement of breath, we can come into the Vedantic second teaching of the 4 key elements of daily life, discernment. And this is actually, observation, self-awareness. So maybe we can start to notice into any feeling tones that might come up here, right? So not even allowing all the heaviness or awareness of the feelings to come up, but maybe just working into the tones. Starting to notice if there's any feelings or emotions that start to get moved here, or are we trying to press away? So noticing if we are identifying or if we are disassociation, just finding what is sort of coming up to the surface, allowing some space for the self-awareness. And the space and self-awareness actually helps to teach us wonderful lessons about ourselves and our interaction with the universe around us. So just maybe sinking in as we make these movements, what feeling tones arise, or how does supporting yourself make you feel? Or how do you even think about this? Is supporting yourself in an important part of your daily life, or isn't it? So allow a few more rounds here in sinking into breath, to movement, and possibly into these feeling tones or into these deeper questionings. And if going into these deeper questions isn't comfortable for you today, just go ahead and skip this part and come back into breath and movement. So 1 or 2 more rounds here. Perhaps even exaggerating the breath. And whenever you feel ready, come back into a standing position. Maybe placing hands here at the heart, or if it feels more comfortable for you, hands relaxing down the sides, turning palms forward. And if the invitation to close the eyes feels natural and appropriate for you in this moment, allow the eyelids to gently soften and close down. If keeping your eyes open is much more comfortable for you, see if you can focus into one point. Just allow gaze to be there, softening around the eyes, and then even coming into the self-awareness, noticing what comes up or what you might be pressing away. 1 or 2 more rounds of breath here. And we could even say thank you for this little tiny moment, an encouragement of ourselves, planting the seed, and really inviting in these feeling tones in, and just a little openness or spaciousness around them. So let's come into I'm going to show a couple options here. The first option is to come into a low lunge with your knee resting. Or we can move up into the high option. So we can start to even plan our movements around both options if we choose. So possibly keeping everything here, or maybe even pressing up, maybe challenging ourselves a little bit more. And we're going to do about 5-10 rounds of just moving in through low lunge to high lunge. And if you have any knee issues, you can certainly come seated on the side of a chair, looping one one leg over the chair so that the back of the knee is supported with the chair, and extending the other leg out. Making small movements here, or the other option is to come all the way up into a high lunge and dropping it all the way down and then coming back up. So find into a supportive practice that works for you today and making these transitions between low and high. And we can start to welcome in this discernment, welcome the knowing or the feeling self. And notice if we're trying to force an outcome or a feeling here. And we can even come into like, what might be my heartfelt need in this moment? It might need a moment of rest, or maybe it might need a moment of challenge. Really coming into a movement or a pose that works for you. And when you finish your rounds of 5, maybe 10, whatever you feel is right and appropriate for you today, pause here into a tabletop position. Or if you're seated, maybe move the knees forward. And try to make a straight line between the tailbone and the back and the crown of the head. Take a big breath in. Exhale it out. Notice what comes up. Notice what we might be trying to avoid. And then coming into the other side, right? So this allowing some discernment to move in through your day here. And then finding a flow that works right for you. Maybe the hands might even stay down to support you. You might take 1 or 2 breaths here, breathing into the space of the hips. And then finding a flow, or maybe a non-flow that works for you. Maybe just gentle stretching today, relaxing down into this pose, allowing discernment to come up. Maybe even asking the questions where I might be forceful in my life. Do we ever sort of examine when we're trying to press for an outcome? And usually when we find in life, if we try to press for an outcome, it really makes it much more difficult for it to arise, for it to become realized. So notice into how the body moves on this side, or maybe the feelings and the emotion tones that come up for you. And we'll do one more round here together. Maybe it might be an equal amount on this side, maybe it's not. We'll allow all of that to rest. Coming back into our tabletop. Maybe even inviting in a couple of cat-cows. Or if it feels better for you to do hulas, making circles with the hips in both directions. And we'll move into our next pose, and this is a couple options again. We can start to choose to flow into a downward facing dog, into an up dog, or into a cobra. Or the other option is to move through our cat-cows. Or what we could do is we could start to move into child's pose, and then into our cobra. So finding a flow, I'll show them again. So we can do low version here. Moving in, opening through the front of the body, the back of the body. The next option would to become into your cat-cow. Just a gentle option here. Moving through. Invite breath to come into this movement. Don't focus on whether you're breathing in or out at the wrong or right time. Just move with what feels natural for you in this moment. The third option is if you wanted to come into a higher mixed downward facing dog. So the chest moves back towards the thighs, back of the legs, reaching back behind you. And then also either dropping down the hips or chaturanga. And if you choose to, you could also lift the legs or drop them into a much more softer pose. So move into a movement that feels right for you. Perhaps allowing a couple more rounds to float into your practice today. Or you could even choose a couple of options here. And we'll invite our breath to move in through this flow. And again, let's add a little bit of self-awareness, this savadya, this self-study. And we can start to use this flow to start to teach us the lessons of integrity. So this is not only being truthful or honest with each other, but also within our thoughts and within our actions too. And we're human, we're flawed, it's okay to make mistakes. But where could we possibly find a little more truthfulness? Or where we can find a little bit more gratitude? Since gratitude is also a part of integrity. And we could start to even ask ourselves some of these questions of what am I thankful for, or who am I thankful for? Or even how can I invite more honesty and more compassionate action into my daily life? So just making small little subtle changes or small little observations can start to have huge impacts onto the subtle layers of our body and also within the cellular layers of the whole universe. So I invite you to do one or two more postures, movements here, either choosing your cat-cow or your child's pose to cobra, or even your downward dog to upward dog. And when you finish, right, so we're actually inviting this fluidity and this flow of life in. And we're also building strength and fortitude here so that we could really approach these daily aspects of our life, right? Be aspiring to grow, so planting seeds of encouragement, and also aspiring that how we can contribute to our universe in a powerful way and also making a big, huge impact. And we do this through observation, through this self-awareness, from feeling into these feeling tones and allowing them to arise. And then we can come into our discernment so we can start to follow our intuition about what feels right and what feels not right for us. So really, really moving into a life that is powerful and really allows you to flow with this inner knowing, this inner wisdom that is already built into your DNA. And then also bringing in integrity, so showing up for yourself and for others in a way that is honest and truthful, where we build into our own authenticity, where we can actually be a participant in this daily life. So let's all rest here. So I'm going to show you a couple more options, and we can start to bring these inner reflections back in through a posture that helps us release a little bit more. Option one is to come into a full child's pose. We've talked about this several times about how to make child's pose a little more comfortable for us. So anytime we're moving forward, maybe we might need to make some adjustments, maybe lifting the belly. We might put a pillow underneath our head or underneath our chest, or even underneath our buttocks and over top of our heels. Or we could take the knees out wide. So we've talked about this before, so maybe moving into a child's pose that feels comfortable and right for you. And if you haven't found that yet, that's okay. Not every single yoga pose is for everybody. So option to even come here on the side, allowing your hand to, or your arm to support your head. Or the third option of coming onto the back. Perhaps the feet on the floor, or if it feels more comfortable and right for you, to bring the knees into the chest. But find into this pose and allow 10 or 15 rounds of breath to be here. Start to exaggerate or extend each inhale, allowing the belly to fill up, the chest to fill up, and all the way up to the collarbone, allowing the whole lung, the whole breathing system to be full of pranic energy. And exhaling, allowing this exhale to sink all the way down. You should almost even feel as though the navel moves towards the spine. Is that you're squeezing every last bit of breath out. And if that makes you feel uncomfortable, just go to a level that really works for you. And maybe even sink into the notice of the next breath coming in. We can start to ask ourselves, when we come into ourselves a little more peacefully, and when we invite this breath to calm through not only our nervous system, but also into the very cells of the muscles and the tissues themselves. So we're having a physical and a mental relaxation happening here when we move into our breath this way. And we can start to maybe open up some of these inner reflections. Possibly asking yourself, how can I support my growth today? Or how have I been supporting my growth? Maybe even realizing how some of the decisions we've made in our past really hasn't supported our direction in life. And maybe even welcoming in this heart sense, or even noticing, what does my heart need now? This is a powerful question that comes up, especially if we're dealing with relationship issues or even into our own trust. So noticing, what is my heartfelt need, my heartfelt sense? Or even possibly asking into the question, am I being too forceful somewhere in my life? Am I being too forceful? Really wishing or desiring an outcome that isn't really coming to fruition for us. Might not even be our dharma, and might even be hard for us to accept that. But once we start to move into the layers of ourselves, feeling into our feeling tones, moving into this svadhyaya, this self-study, we can start to notice what comes up with us, and we can start to make these subtle shifts so that we can actually start to make decisions that actually help support our growth and actually help support our needs. And taking a few more breaths in the comfortable position that you're in, maybe even inviting in the sense or feeling tone of gratitude. And start with gratitude for yourself and for the practice that you are taking and participating in today. And starting to develop gratitude for all the seeds that you're planting in this life. And allowing this life to grow over a whole period of lifetime, since we don't have to accomplish everything. We don't have to invent the wheel in one day. So really allowing or seeing ourselves being able to open and unfold our dharma, our purpose. And we can even start to ask into these more inviting questions of, how can I be more honest with myself, since we can play these mind games with ourselves and really bend the truth to what we feel is what we need in the moment. But really, are we getting into the deeper layers of exactly what it is that we need, and how can we be more honest to get there? And this actually helps to expedite our path to our real true nature, or at least finding or seeking or feeling into this comfortable true north that's already inside you, just waiting for you to turn your gaze to it. Just allowing all of the externals from today's society to really wash to the outer limits and to the side, so that you can actually get into the core of what is happening within you, and really even into the energy that is being created just here, right now. And can you notice what thoughts might come up for you that don't support your dharma? Since we tend to have these samskaras, these little grooves of these mental patterns that seem to arise. And sometimes they're helpful, and in most cases these are. But however, in some cases they're not helpful. So we need this discernment so that we know what our feeling or intuition is. And that's through guidance and through also love and compassion, but also acceptance and gratitude. So let's take one more big breath here together. Exhale it out. And then make your way back up into a comfortable seated position for you. Maybe on your chair. Maybe seated on your mat just as I am, or maybe extending one leg out might make you feel more comfortable. So feeling into comfort again. Since our yoga practice is really allowing us to strive between comfort and effort, right? Through the stiram and sukham. And we will do a couple of rounds of Nadi Shodhana. I'm going to do it fairly quickly. So we're going to allow the thumb to come to the right nostril, breathing in through the left side. We're going to hold the breath here, take the pinky and placing it on the left side of the nostril, breathing out of the right side. Take a breath in through this right nostril, and then switch. Breathing out through the left, breathing in through the left, switch. Breathe out through the right side, breathe in through the right side, and switch. And start to go at your own flow. Remember, breathing out, breathing in, and the switch happens after the in-breath. So another round or two, or you can even choose to practice this a little longer after the class. Nadi Shodhana is a wonderful breathing technique that helps us really unite or balance the right hemisphere of the brain, the left hemisphere of the brain, and can help prepare us for our day. So moving in through your rounds of Nadi Shodhana, breathing in through one side, exhaling out through the same side, switching over to the other side, and completing the whole breath cycle again. Breathing out, breathing in, switching, breathing out, breathing in, switching. And at your own pace, since our own breathing capacity changes throughout our days, throughout our lifetimes, and really allowing your own breath, your own natural rhythm to be present here. No need to control anything, but inviting it in. And when you finish by breathing out through the left side, this lunar channel, the channel of, or energetic channel of Ida. And when you finish there, maybe pausing into your seated position of comfort. And if comfort doesn't feel like 100% today, maybe even inviting only 1 or 2%, whatever percentage of comfort seems to be accessible for you in this moment. We will close out today's practice with an Om, but before we do that, spread your arms out and cover one arm over top, and then allow the fingertips to reach back towards the shoulders, giving yourself a big hug here. Maybe even rock yourself a little bit, closing the eyes, and you can imagine either you giving yourself a hug, or if it feels more easeful, to imagine someone you love dearly giving you a hug back. But embracing yourself or someone you care about. Closing out this practice today is inhale, spread those arms out wide again. Exhale, crossing arms over the other way now, so the other arm is on top, and if it feels right, giving yourself a hug and swaying side to side, or gentle rocking here, allowing whatever needs to come here and support you here, and really allow yourself to feel supported. We can sometimes get into the narrative that that we are not supported here in this lifetime, or maybe we get too involved in some of the mental patterns that sort of get repeated over and over and over, repeated over and over and over again. And maybe allowing some of that to fade to the side and really extending yourself this metta, loving kindness. And then releasing the hands, or if it feels more comfortable to keep your arms closed here, we'll close out today with an Om. Breathing in through the nose. Om. Pause into the moment of quietude here, the resonance after Om. There is a deep wisdom still within the stillness, into this quiet after a mantra. So I hope today's class brings you some wisdom, gives you the encouragement you need to plant the seeds for your own dharma, for your own purpose, or maybe even helps you to get to the resolution that might be sort of coming up repeatedly to you. So maybe there might be some openness there, or maybe even opening up into that to intuition, that guidance that might actually help to support your growth, might actually help you to support, to change any sort of habits that might not be allowing you to move forward. So I thank you very much for joining me in today, and forever and always. There's another class tomorrow night at 7:30. You're certainly welcome to enjoy meditation on me tomorrow night. We will be doing a visualization through the stars, a wonderful, powerful practice that helps us sort of maybe see ourselves from a bird's eye view. Maybe we can extend a vision towards ourselves that is from a perception of love. So I thank you very much for joining me. Certainly do check out my YouTube channels and subscribe, since I will hopefully be putting out more content soon for that as well. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day. Namaste. Be well, be happy. Take care.